Member of Parliament Keisha Heiliger Martin wants to know how many phases are we looking at in reopening the country. Prime Minister says the reopening of the country will be phased in. But first up, Member of Parliament Claudius Moncamper wants to know how are we going to deal with this COVID-19 and the way forward. Those are the headlines for Thursday, May the 7th, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. At the bi-weekly press briefing with the Prime Minister and Chairlady of the EOC on May the 6th, 2020, an update was given which included discussions on COVID-19, the coronavirus, and the economy, as well as the reopening of the schools. Member of Parliament Claudius Moncamper posed several questions to the Prime Minister about COVID-19 and the economy. Member of Parliament Moncamper says that the question is how to deal with COVID-19 and the way forward. Regarding the economy, the Member of Parliament said, life does continue, like it or not. How far do we kill it by restarting the economy, and how many people do we allow to die by restarting it?
COVID-19 and the way forward. That is the question on everybody's mind, not only yours, Madam Prime Minister, but also ours, and I'm sure the rest of the world. Because with the waves that we expect, or the vaccine not being available and a cure not having been found yet, life does continue, if we like it or not. We only have to make the choice on the economy. How far do we kill it before we restart it? Or how much people do we allow to die by restarting it? That's the real question that needs answering. No matter how we turn about it, no matter how we talk about it, the strength of the herd, whatever they want to call it, those are the realities right now that are being discussed in the world. They're being discussed in the Netherlands, they're being discussed in Sweden, they're being discussed in America, and they're being discussed throughout the Caribbean, and especially South Florida. You can clearly see how the governor of Florida has all the fights with his various counties and mayors. The trust fund is another issue. I will not address it today because you said you're meeting with them next week. So I prefer that you meet with them first. And once you have gotten that meeting, then we can get a better discussion with you and them, because I think the trust fund is affecting the country at present already severely, but it can have a very positive impact and change St. Martin's outlook for the future. We are not Aruba nor Curacao. We are sitting on $250 million that we can inject tomorrow into our economy. So we have a different set of rules that we can play by moving forward. Now, the lockdown versus the opening. Madam Prime Minister, I had drafted my questions somewhat already prior to your elucidation. So when you read through the questions and you notice there are some double ups, you don't need to answer them if you had already given that information. But still, you said you have certain guidelines that are being prepared. Will those guidelines be made public so that people can prepare in advance and not have to wait till the economy is starting to reopen to find out what the guidelines are and then go and try to accommodate themselves so that they can really take part in the gradual reopening? And this goes also for restaurants, schools, churches, non-essential. You know, I understand the social spacing, the face mask, and all these things. Is the face mask going to become something mandatory, for example, for the next 3 months or for the next 2 months? That, you know, that people know these things and that we really start to look for supplies of proper face masks so that we can really get them on island and ensure that the prices doesn't go through the roof with gouging, because that happens anytime there's an item of necessity on this island.
The Prime Minister, the Honourable Sylvania Jacobs, responded to the questions from the Member of Parliament Moncamper. The Prime Minister said she gave a pretty good overview of the easing up of the lockdown. The reopening or the Deescalation Plan will be phased in, she expounded.
The first one related to the easing up of the lockdown, and I think I gave a pretty good overview of that. The details of schools, beaches, churches, etc., all of that will be part of our phased in reopening our de-escalation plan. The cost, we don't have the final cost as yet. We were in discussion with the Council of Ministers, and that will be provided in writing as soon as we have it. The ministers actually now doing some budget amendments to be able to cover bills that are coming in, and we are preparing and reserving at least to be able to reserve an amount to, and so we're still getting the estimated cost from the different ESF coordinators that are incurring costs at the moment. So that question I will reserve to send to you in writing when I have a better idea. The border controls, I didn't touch much on that during my presentation. So MP Bonkamper is asking about controversial issues regarding the passing of food, etc. What is the current status at the French-Dutch border point, seeing that the French side is indicating that it will reopen by next week? What effect this will have on the situation at the border points? In our discussions this morning, both the French and my side, our side, have the same challenges with the waivers. There continually seems to be, let's say, misunderstandings, but every story has 2 and 3 sides. And then when you go a little further in investigation, somebody was not being truthful somewhere in the situation, but the rules remain that persons needing to go to the Dutch side would get permission from myself or Carl John, and persons needing to travel to the French side would get that permission through the prefect or the prefecture, and then the prefect would sign off on that. We, as let's say, expect that in de-escalating, that the border controls will also be de-escalated. How that will happen is why we are meeting together with our French counterparts before Friday to finalize that. They have come up publicly with plans based on the fact that the French state, which is in charge of the crisis, has made an announcement which goes for the entire French state, which includes French St. Martin, St. Bart's, etc. And so therefore, that is the framework out of which they have to work. But each territory must fill it in their capabilities and feasibility. So that is what the French territory is now doing. And that is what I was updated on this morning, because I had some concerns as well with what was being said there. And so schools have a bit of a concern to open, even though the state has said they will open. It is not mandatory, so parents can still choose whether they are going to send their children to school or not if they open up. So they are still assessing the situation, and they will be making their announcements, of course, prior to May 8th as to what exactly will be opening on May 8th, and they will also be phasing in as we are phasing in. So what we're doing for the balance of this week is doing our best to synchronize the plans that we as leaders will then approve and hopefully move forward in a manner that is cohesive. And still to come, Caribbean Princess cruise ship will be in port for fuel bunkering. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And in the continuation of the bi-weekly press briefing, Member of Parliament Keisha Heiliger Martin also posed a number of questions to the Prime Minister. They included how many phases are we looking at in the reopening of the country and what is the criteria that they will be using.
The phases, do you have an idea what the phases, how many phases we're looking at in the reopening of the country? What are the criteria that they're going to be using? Are they going to use different criteria? Is it going to be sector specific? So say, for instance, you have a criteria for restaurants. Restaurants have a different way of operating. Car rentals have a different way of operating. Supermarkets have a different way of operating. Bars, clubs, hairdressers, they all operate differently. Are you going to have one way across the board? Or is the EOC sitting down with these people, with the different sectors? Are they sitting down with Chamber of Commerce? Are they sitting down with SHTA and other organizations to gather this information for this comprehensive study? What are the best practices in the region? For instance, Aruba, Curacao, Barbados, are these being considered in your comprehensive study? Is there a medium to long-term economic recovery plan in addition to the financial stimulus plan? Coming from perhaps TIAC. When it comes to education, we all know now that the new normal is going to be social distancing. That's going to be our new normal, bar none. That's the reality of it. So social distancing also has to be taken into consideration when schools reopen. What are the policies in place for schools? Are we working on a new normal for schools when it comes to social distancing? Are we creating policies? I also heard you mention earlier, Prime Minister, that exams are canceled. What exactly is the reason for that? Is the education department, are they taking like a intake of all the public schools, finding out from the children how many don't have laptops, how many don't have internet? Can we get a little study from that so we could assess if really online study is working? Are the kids going to be able to graduate? Is it a small fraction, and are the kids are going to be able to graduate easily because it's only a small fraction, or where are we with that? Lastly, when it comes to the health, what is the VSA ministry doing to ensure CPS has the assistance it needs? Have any resources from within VSA been redirected to help CPS? What is the staffing situation currently at CPS? Is there a budget reserve for the exit plan of the lockdown? Is there a budget reserve for us to buy massive amounts of masks and sanitizers for the population? Is that part of the budget?
And then the Prime Minister responded to MP Heiliger Martin's questions. The Prime Minister says it has been a balancing game and she has been blessed with having, say, other countries being further ahead in the development looking at best practices. The Prime Minister said we have a unique cultural setup. She expounded.
The opening statements, I can completely concur. Yes, those are our daily deliberations between health and economic development, between lives and livelihood. They each influence the other. And I think it's a balancing game. It's a brand new crisis, let's say, that many in leadership around the world have not yet had to deal with. I think I've been blessed with having, say, other countries be further ahead in the development, looking at best practices, et cetera, what has worked, what hasn't worked, before making certain decisions. That has helped in many cases. But nothing is a one size fits all in dealing with this. And I must say that our unique setup here with being multilingual, with just our culture, and people say a lot of things. And I sometimes, when I'm doing press briefings, I see questions being asked by the public as to something I just said. So then I'm really wondering whether they are actually listening. Some people listen to respond instead of listen to take in information. And it's a learning process. And I have gained much patience in the process as well. So it's been a lesson for me. I'm doing my best together with the EOC to take the best possible decisions given the circumstances at any given time. And there are times when you, especially the same thing that MP Helga Martin is talking about in proper planning. You plan something, and when it doesn't get executed the way you envisioned, you have to assess what may have gone wrong in the execution. Is it the understanding of what was meant to be executed? Is it that not all stakeholders were on board with it in the first place, but just shook heads, and then key players not executing caused the whole thing to crash? And so I believe that we've learned quite some lessons along the way. And that's why before we do any more reopening, and I think we learned that lesson quite blatantly with the reopening of supermarkets, expecting that all would reopen when they didn't, expecting that smaller groceries would reopen when they didn't. The refusal of some businesses to execute delivery, that also proved to be a challenge, but we're not going to be forced to put people at more risk than necessary if businesses have the opportunity and are not utilizing it. And lastly, and understanding that livelihood is a serious issue and the SSRP has not yet kicked in, when our goal was that it would have kicked in the first week of May. We are now in the first week of May. So I can imagine, you can hear me? Oh, so I can imagine that, you know, it can become like, all right, if I go die from COVID, die from starvation, which one of these poisons am I going to pick? It can become a dilemma for many. So the phased-in approach, as I described in my opening statements, I received the document. I don't feel like I can share a document that I have not yet gone through in its entirety. I received it last night, and I've been in meetings since this morning, and go through it with the stakeholders that have put it together. Now, each ESF representative has stakeholders, and they discuss with their stakeholders prior to coming to an EOC meeting. So, for instance, ESF 10, which is Ministry of TIAT representing businesses, the businesses constantly are coming forth with ideas of how to open, when to open, etc. We're ready to open. I get letters. We're ready to open. McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, several other businesses have sent in letters saying, I'm ready. This is what I have in place. And we as a EOC deliberate on what we're trying to achieve, what is essential, what isn't essential, and how much we can, accommodate without disrupting what really we needed to happen during these couple of weeks.
And in some cruise-related news at this time, on Thursday, the Caribbean Princess cruise ship was in port for fuel bunkering. The vessel is part of Princess Cruises' fleet. One crew member with St. Martin heritage who works on board the vessel was allowed to disembark as the person returns home. And he was also allowed to follow the public health and security protocols of the Collective Prevention Service, CPS. All cruise vessels have to adhere to stringent public health measures as well as to the rules and regulations related to the national state of emergency. Port St. Martin has a sterile port protocol in place since mid-March with respect to COVID-19, ensuring safety and security. The Caribbean Princess is 952 feet in length and towers 19 decks high. Its inaugural cruise was in April 2004, and the vessel was christened by Jill Whalen, who played Vicky on the Love Boat. The ship was refurbished in May 2019. Princess Cruises is a global cruise and tour company taking more than 1 million passengers each year to more than 300 worldwide destinations on 6 continents. The company was founded in 1965 and is headquartered in California in the United States. Its parent company is Carnival Corporation and PLC. The release reads in part. Now turning to our weather forecast for May the 7th, 2020. A dominant Atlantic high-pressure system will maintain gentle to moderate winds across the region. A relatively stable atmosphere will continue to restrict shower activity. Seas will remain slight to moderate during the next several days. And the outlook through Saturday midday, fair to partly cloudy with light haze and a few brief showers are possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, President of the YCLU says employers are not meeting with unions to discuss COVID-19 related issues. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And in more COVID-19 related news, President of the Chamber of Labor Unions, Claire Elshot, says employers are not meeting with the unions to discuss the issues regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. The president says employers are circumventing the facts and are not sitting with the unions to come up with a strategy on how to deal with this pandemic in the coming months.
Employers are circumventing the fact and are not sitting with the unions to come up with a strategy either of how to deal with this pandemic in the coming months. How can we meet, or our workers can meet us half the way too, or that we can support each other, because to be quite truthful, a number of employers would need these same workers if and when things become normal, which none of us can sit in our rightful chairs and say, well, it is 1 month, 2 months more, 3 months more, or even 6 to 9 months. We cannot say that. And again, a lot of uncertainties are there, and with government only focusing on the regulations for the part where you would say is the health and the safety, and not coming out clearly and giving guidelines as to the stimulus packages that would be presented either to the employers or to the workforce. Prematurely, you have a number of these employers that just did not wait either to hear. They just went ahead and did what they had to do. But I would like to let you know that this is the same tactic that they have been using after Hurricane Irma and Maria, and from our brothers and sisters organizations in the WICLU, especially the WIFUL, they have carried a number of cases of workers to courts that maybe the general public didn't hear of individually, but basically they have won all their court cases. And this even started from after Hurricane Lewis, which is some 25 years ago. And that case was also won in the courts. So there are cases, a number of cases, that would provide jurisprudence. Therefore, our workers in St. Martin should not be either quick or tempted to just sign anything that is presented to them without consultation, legal advice, advice from their unions, advice from the labor office.
And still to come, Phillipsburg Jubilee Library relaunches its Storytime segment. We'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. And as we continue now with more news, the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library is relaunching its Storytime segment as of Saturday, May the 9th. However, this will be done online. The first in a series of stories will be aired from Saturday, May the 9th, and every Saturday thereafter at 11 a.m. This will be for children ages 5 and up. Director at the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library is Gwendolyn Holiday.
Why we're doing that, I think in a previous interview I stated that the library being the type of organization it is our duty to also contribute to the growth of our youth in St. Martin. We have launched last week or 2 weeks ago the literacy campaign, which is going all right, and I'll speak more about that on another occasion. But then we looked at, okay, being at the library, it's about reading, it's about developing the mind, developing the reading skills, the writing skills, the whole comprehension skills, and in discussing with the staff and with the program manager, we decided to broaden our activities this year and revisit some of the programs that the library had before. So for that reason, we have decided to also make use of our online services, for instance, our Facebook page and our website, because as we know right now with this COVID-19 and our stay-at-home restrictions, we do need to reach out to our members and prospective members.
What mechanism has been put in place to ensure that you are well received by all your members, especially the younger ones?
First of all, we have reached out to the media, and I can say that the media is really working with us. And we would, of course, we published it in the media, and we are also going to have it on our website and our Facebook. And our youth leaders or youth readers, they have people that they are constantly in contact with. And by promoting, we are hoping that the youngsters, as you said, on Saturday we are starting with story time for our children ages 5 and up, primary level. And if there's someone in the secondary level, the first and second form, interested too, I know you are going to be treated to some good stories. We are not only going to be doing book stories in the coming weeks, months, we are also going to be doing audio, books, and all sorts of things. We are going to tap in to the different resources we have in the library, starting this Saturday from 11 a.m. And the story, we are starting out with Miss Maryland Powell, the youth librarian at the library, and continuing on Wednesday, starting from next week Wednesday, we'll be having story time for the babies and toddlers, and that will be done by Ms. Melakia Spencer, who is tasked with this on a regular basis, meaning that the play school students, the kindergarten students, or Psycho 1, Year 1 and 2 students that they are called now, or Group 1 and 2, Ms. Spencer would then read them stories and take them in this whole world of story time.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, this notice from GEBE, they are informing all persons paying online that due to limited days and limited hours at the office, your online account or transactions is taking longer than normal to be updated. They apologize for the inconvenience. All online payments are being processed with a limited staff, limited days, and limited hours. But rest assured that your account will be updated and your receipt will be emailed to you or delivered to you with your new invoice. If your email address has changed or you are not certain that GEBE has your email, they kindly ask that you please update your email address by sending an email to collection@nvgebe.com with your email and telephone number. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten, and just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.